Yes, yes, people, you know the vibes. Welcome back to another live stream. Welcome back to another live preview as well. Liverpool versus Chelsea. The tough games continue to come back and forth, and we are still midway through the Hell's Gate run of fixtures, but we also haven't lost yet. So, small positives to take from it. Also, still needs to get a win as well. We'll say this game is must win for Liverpool, but it is also must win for Chelsea. It's just not really being spoken about as much because, really and truly, if we don't get a result against Liverpool, that's no wins in our last three league games. And that's going to be something that a lot of people are going to start to take into account and also start to point fingers at Thomas Tuchel for. So we do have to come correct. We do have to get the result as well. Now is also an excellent time as well to try and rid the Anfield curse. It has been a while since we've won there in the league, but we are going to preview all things Liverpool versus Chelsea. We're going to talk about all the talking points about Liverpool going into the game, talk about Chelsea as well, end things on the combined 11. But first off, before we do that, smash the like button, smash the subscribe button if you guys haven't done so already. Check out Team Copish, check out Monster CFC. The links are in the title. So literally just press their name, send it straight to their channel, and then press the subscribe button as well. But first off, my guest, Drifty, what are you saying, man? How's your week been, bro?
What's going on, G? What's going on? I'm all right, bro. I'm all right. Finally remember what it feels like to get a win. You know what I'm saying? So just brightened up my day a little bit. Like you man probably already know how this feels because you lot been doing your thing since Abramovich made your club relevant. Winning when you don't win for a little while feels a bit mad still. So you know what I mean. You get you get a bit entitled, should I say? 2 years of dominance, you start feeling entitled. You know what I mean? So yeah, is what it is, man.
You need to stop, bruv. Like, honestly, all this Abramovich made you look relevant. This
But
and that.
you just gotta
But before
take it and just
Abramovich came
accept
in,
it,
we
bro.
finished above you lot in the Premier League, though.
No, you did.
Yes,
But
exactly.
but
So
but
what does
facts
that
are
mean?
fact. I'm not saying Chelsea didn't exist before Abramovich, but he made you relevant. Come on, sometimes
Stop, stop.
this is like the rich kid at school getting dropped off in the like Rolls Royce and being like embarrassed he's getting dropped off in the Rolls Royce. I just be happy in it. Like just
You're mocking it. You're mocking it.
We
it is
had
what
some
it is.
trophies before, I mean, I remember the 2000 FA Cup final, the 97 FA Cup final, Cup Winners' Cup as well. I think we still had the most trophies in London before Roman Abramovich joined as well. So we were still waving the blue flag high down south. North, it is what it is. I try not to speak too much when it comes to Liverpool and Manchester United on a trophy thing because I understand that. But in London, we still reign dominant anyway. But Monster as well, we haven't spoken to you. How have you been the last few days as well, my guy?
I feel good, man. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, a big game coming up. Some of the things I said in the previous Liverpool and Chelsea preview to the gentleman below me, some of the things have come into fruition. I didn't think it would at the time. I was saying it as a bit of banter, not knowing it was actually going to happen. And Jesus Christ, what a season it's been for both Chelsea and Liverpool, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's been
man.
a madness for the pair of us. Like you said, it's been a while since you've seen your team have a win, Drifty. Like Loki, we've had the same sort of feeling a few months before Frank Lampard got sacked. So we understand the feeling, but that's literally been this season in general. It's been really hard to predict. Nearly everyone who has come in here with any sort of prediction, unless it's a Manchester City fan, is sitting there thinking, what the hell has happened with this sort of season? I want to ask you as well as a Liverpool fan, because I think if we're asking about who's had the biggest roller coaster of a season, it's without a shadow of a doubt, it's Liverpool. You guys have had so much to deal with both on the pitch and off the pitch. And it's easy to say that that's the reason for why you guys are in the position that you're in right now. But if you just want to describe literally the last few months for Liverpool in general.
Boy, basically we had a massive bump in the road when Van Dijk went down against Everton. If memory serves me correctly, it was our fourth game of the season. Don't quote me on that, but it was very close to the beginning of the season. Van Dijk got that injury, and that was a massive bump in the road. Now everybody thought it was going to make us come to a halt. Even as a Liverpool fan, I was like, "Right, what we going to do now? This man's just played like 90 something Premier League games in a row, clean sweep. We've been impeccable defensively. Like, what's going to happen now?" And then we kind of was all right for a little while. We actually was all right for a little while. Like people forget, New Year's we were top of the league. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, even though it's looking real shady right now, and I'm even worried about top four, it literally just went off the cliff because at Christmas we battered Crystal Palace 7-0, and everyone thought let's just wrap this up now. Them man are clearly going to be champions again. So it was a crazy kind of way that it just happened. Me personally, I didn't see it coming like this, but I did at the same time, because I remember saying to people, what worries me is fatigue's going to kick in. We're coping without Van Dijk. We're coping without Gomez. We're coping at the time without Thiago, without Fabinho, Trent. All these players were missing. But I was saying to people, I'm worried fatigue's going to kick in because we can't rotate. There was a point where the only fit midfielders we had was Henderson, Jones, and Wijnaldum. They were just playing every week. Then Henderson even had to go back into defence. Thankfully, Thiago got fit, so he went in and then Hendo. But I was like, we're just rinsing the same 11. This isn't gonna work. Even though we're top of the league and we're playing well, this isn't gonna work. Fatigue is going to kick in. We're playing Champions League, we're playing Premier League, whatever. And then lo and behold, injuries just kept happening. Fatigue did kick in. Fatigue's caused bad form, formation changes and whatnot all over the place, players playing out of position. And as you said, Lewis, it's not an excuse because we're still Liverpool and we can't make excuses for drawing with Fulham, losing to Burnley. Well, we can't make excuses for those. We still had 11 players on the pitch that were better than theirs. You have to hold your hands up and own that. But there are reasons, like I said, when you've got two midfielders playing at centre-back, then your fullbacks can't push up as much because they've got to protect. Then the midfield, and it's just a snowball effect, and we can't even press out the pitch like we used to. We used to suffocate you in your half and beat you in the first half because you couldn't handle the press. We can't even do that anymore. Like, just everything is just snowball. So in a nutshell, we started
the fixture list, because we've been speaking through the entirety of the season about how taxing this fixture list and this pile up is going to be on the players. And you lot play a very high intensity system as well. So do you think in that sort of sense, maybe the managers to take some of the blame for it, as well as especially with some of the rotations as well? Like Jota, if I remember correctly, he got injured in the game that he didn't really need to play. There was that big Aston Villa game in the FA Cup where they played their under 18s. That still saw hella first team players in there as well.
But basically, what it is, because Klopp is an absolute genius in terms of, to us now as Liverpool fans, like he's done it all, he brought us to the promised land, what have you. He's allowed to make mistakes. But as I've said before on my channel, which people completely took out of context because people like to just be stupid, if it was at another club, I'll use your club as an example. If what was happening to us now was happening at Chelsea, I reckon your manager would get sacked. Because Abramovich is like, okay, hold on a minute, you're about to make me not finish in the Champions League. I'm not having this.
But do you remember, yeah, 2000 and I think it was 6 and 7, innit? After we won 2 Premier Leagues in a row, then we had a lot of injuries the next season, which obviously Man United took advantage of, went on to 6-7. Man United obviously took advantage of it and went to win the league. Obviously, let me not lie. Yeah, I know I take the piss out of Liverpool and everything. I love doing that, but it is what it is. But if we're being honest, like he is right in the sense that when you lose Van Dijk and then you lose Gomez and then you lose what's his name, Matip, and then stupidly they sold Lovren without replacing him as well. Then obviously you got to push 2 of your midfielders into defense, and obviously that also takes away the fullbacks being able to bomb forward as much, because Liverpool's creativity comes from their fullbacks in Trent and Robertson. They're not able to push forward enough. They have to come back and help out the defense, innit? So in that sense, I get why Liverpool are not necessarily, they're not performing, innit? It makes sense, innit? It all adds up. At the same time, like, I just feel like with Liverpool fans, you lot didn't necessarily give Man City the same kind of excuse when they were losing players. You know what I mean? I'm not saying, I know it is tough and I know it is what it is. I feel like at the same time as well with Klopp, he could have kind of taken it easy on these players with the training methods. I feel like it surprises me how injured Alisson gets injured. I've never seen a goalkeeper so injury prone, and to me that just says maybe Klopp needs to be toning down his training methods. Like, they must be going too hard in training. Like, it's getting ridiculous now for you lot.
And no, it's real. It's real. And like I said, I love Klopp to death. You know what I mean? I wish he could be our manager forever. But I'll still hold him accountable just like I would any other player of any other level, because you still have to pull a man up and be like, nah, but what's this about? Like you mentioned when he played Jota in that game. Why? There was no need. Like, we've heard rumors that because you win 2.5 million, you gain 2.5 million for every win in the Champions League. The owners actually said to him, if you want money in January, then you've got to win every group game in the group.
That's
So
mad.
it made him play more. And if that's true, listen, I'm not going to do the whole FSG thing here because that's another story. But I don't really get why he did it, even if it was for that, because he should have seen the bigger picture. But just little things he still has to be questioned on. Do you get what I mean? Like, he's still the man. He's still the best. I love him, but I will always question mistakes. And you're right, shouldn't have played Jota. The under-18s, it was a bit like, well, why were players like Thiago in that game? Like, there was no need. And yeah, he's got to try and figure out a way to trust people he doesn't trust. I know that sounds like a really stupid thing to say, but he doesn't trust your Shaqiris and your, do you know what I mean, our squad players. But he's got to find a way to trust them because we have to rotate. We have to. You can't keep playing the same players.
And that will also rub off on the players as well, because they'll be able to feel when a manager doesn't trust them. And I feel like that would have an impact on their performance on the pitch too.
No, definitely. And I've got this thing where I stick up for people like Ox and Origi because I know what it's like. I mean, we've all played football. When you're not playing regularly, people forget. You don't just play and then you're just good straight away. It doesn't work like that. You need rhythm. You need time. You can't expect Origi to get 5 minutes at the end of a game and score the winning goal. You can't see Oxlade-Chamberlain miss. I think it was something like in total 14 months from the Roma game when he got that injury until he made his comeback. How is he going to just be good straight away? Do you know how long 14 months is? So I excuse these things, but I guess we know in Premier League football, you ain't got time to wait, innit? Like, it's got to happen now. You lot are witnessing it now. Ain't nobody, if they're going to take their banter hat off, say that Werner, Havertz, Ziyech ain't quality ballers. But you lot ain't got time to wait right now, and it's making it an extra pressure thing. Like, Havertz is on the bench a lot now, and I'm like, right, this is their record signing. But you can't ramp. You can't wait for him to find form. You got a top four to get. You need to get back in the Champions League. But you have to put the human side into it as well, though, innit? Let's be honest. Havertz is in a new country. He's young as well. Was he 21, 22, something like that?
21.
Yeah.
Like, come on, if you told me to move to another country when I was 21 years old, I'd have told you to shut up. I'd have been like, go where? Without my family. And do what? I don't even really speak the language properly. Nah, you're all right, man. I'm staying here. So I rate them people who do that anyway. But people who judge him on his performances, innit? So, yeah, our squad needs to be trusted, man. It needs to be. But I don't think we got the time to do it. So he's in between a rock and a hard place, Klopp, to be honest.
Yeah, I hear that, and I'm not going to ask you this just for you to completely go off one, because you already said that could be an entire story for another video. But just chat to me about FSG in general and what's been the biggest issues with them surrounding this season, anyway. Because I've heard a lot of controversy between Liverpool fans surrounding them. So if you want to touch on it, it's cool. But you don't have to go too deep into it if you don't want to.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, it is a long subject, so I'll just like round it up in a quick way. They are extremely good businessmen, and they do make sure that everything they're in charge of runs as a business. I wouldn't say impeccably, because maybe that's going too far, but if you look at the fact that them as a whole are worth 7 billion, they know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. Do you know what I mean? Red Sox won the World Series for the first time in how many years? We won the Premier League for the first time in 30 years. They know what they're doing. There's no doubt. But their Moneyball system doesn't work for sustainability. It's perfect for when you're on the come up. If you've seen, Red Sox fans are now upset with the fact that they haven't maintained the level that they got to. And it's the same with us now. You can't maintain this level the way it is. So basically what we are now, we're like, to give you an analogy, we're the kids who've got the parents where mum and dad are still together. The home is completely run properly. You're never stressed. You're never worried about money or dinner or lunch or none of that. You're always cool. But you're always the kid that comes back after Christmas and you've got a normal gift and everyone's got the new PlayStation. Everyone's got the new like electronic scooter or whatever. And you just got like the discount trainers, you know what I mean? Because you needed them. Like your mom was like, I've got to get you some now. These ones have got holes in it. Like, all right, I'll get you some trainers, but you went to the discount section. But you never have to worry about your home or anything. It's all stable. That's us, you know what I mean? We're the kid at Christmas who just gets what we need, or we don't get the PlayStation 5 or the new electronic scooter, and we got to watch everyone else enjoy their toys while we're just all right. And that's the best way to put it.
So,
Yeah.
so it's a thing where you're working all the way up until you get to the title, and as soon as you've won the biggest trophy, it's like, okay, cool. Now you have the team. You don't really need to make too many additions. Is that what you're saying the situation is?
Yeah, unless we're forced to, i.e., why it was the last day of the transfer window after hearing Matic will miss the whole season, we had to panic buy 2 defenders who aren't good enough to be at our club. Like, if I'm being frank, they're not good enough to be. I'm not saying they're crap players, but we're Liverpool. We're champions. You go and buy a Koulibaly if you're in trouble. You don't go and buy a Kabak on loan. Do you get what I mean? Like, that's not how you retain the Champions League or the Premier League, is it? Nobody does that. So, yeah.
No, I was just saying that because it feels a lot like Chelsea, because that's a lot like us. We spend a lot to get to the title. Once we get to the title, personally, I think all of our worst transfer windows have come after winning the league. We do the exact same thing, but I think it just doesn't get spoken about as much because we still go out and we get an FA Cup or we go and get any sort of trophy and it just kind of papers over it a little bit. But there's always a period where we just climb up to the title and then just pause or maybe go down a little bit as well. So I kind of understand that too. Monster as well, I wanted to ask you because, like you said, start of the season, you had a lot of very big predictions about Liverpool. I wanted to ask you your thoughts on Liverpool's season as well.
It's a bit of a weird one because at the beginning of the season, obviously, I did do a video with Drifty and the other guys from the Copish. Obviously, it was a bit of a wild video, but I said at the time that, you know, if what do you call it? If Van Dijk and I think I said it was Mane or Salah at the time get injured and their season was over, I didn't think it would be to this extent. The reason why I said it at that time as well is because they've been going gung ho, intense football for two to 3 seasons, innit? And using the same players over and over and over again. They hadn't really refreshed their squad. Although with they brought in Thiago Alcantara, I didn't think he suited their style necessarily. I thought in order to implement him into the team, they had to change up the way they play, and to me, they still haven't done that, innit? So when those players got injured, it didn't really surprise me with how they're performing. It surprised me a little in a sense that I didn't think they'll be this bad. I still would have thought they'll be around 3rd, 4th, but not where they are now, innit? And I get it. It's injuries at the end of the day. Injuries can affect your team. Now, as much as we take the piss out of them, God knows if Chelsea had those kind of injuries, all of us would be going crazy right now. Do you know what I mean? So I'm not gonna take the piss in it like I usually do. I'll allow them on this one, innit? I'll allow them. It's the injuries, innit? It's the injuries. They got big injuries, like.
Yeah, the injuries.
You know, you're saying about Thiago, Monster. You're right because in the 4-3-3, he doesn't suit the system. He's a luxury player, and he was brought in to because he was available, and you don't see a Porsche for sale for $2,000 and it's brand new and you don't buy it. You don't do that. You buy it and you figure out what you do later. But I know the way Klopp is. He wanted to change to a 4-2-3-1. He was probably going to either use Jota through the middle or at least know he could rotate his front players. And he was going to play a double pivot of Fabinho and Thiago. And because obviously all this madness has happened, he hasn't been able to do it. This is actually a mad stat. We haven't played our first 11 once this season. Not once. Even the Everton game when Van Dijk played, Alisson was injured and we had to play Adrian in goal. There's not one game this season Klopp's been able to play all 11 of his starting players. And that shows he hasn't been able to do the plan he had when we signed Thiago and Jota. Do you get what I mean? So now we haven't even been able to play Simicast because you can't ask a guy who has injuries and had COVID as well to come in and play in a system where his main attribute is attacking. And now we got to be more defensive. He's not even going to look good. So I think he's even protecting Simicast by playing Robertson all the time. So yeah, Klopp hasn't been able to do the plan he had for bringing in Thiago. And it's
I
a
want to ask
shame
a quick
because I
question.
wanted it.
Do you think, and this is not saying he's better than Thiago or anything, but do you think Mason Mount would suit Liverpool more than Thiago?
In a 4-3-3, maybe. You know what? All jokes aside, I know it's fun to banter. I actually rate Mason Mount, and I'm actually quite surprised that a lot of Chelsea fans don't like him, because when a player grows on you, you get rid of your hate in the moment. So at the beginning, it was like, oh my God, they're playing a man from Derby that they loaned out because Lampard just liked having him with him last season. This is a joke. But then watching him last season and then watching him this season, the boy is silky, man. You can't really, you know what I mean? Like, all jokes aside, the boy is silky. To me, he's been your best player this season. And I don't even mean that in a shady way.
He has.
Like,
or our second best. I feel like Thiago Silva's been our best, but
either or for me.
He's been up there, yeah. I mean, yeah, because the way I look at him, he's the way, you know, I look at the way Henderson, Ronaldo, and the way, who's the third midfielder? Well, Fabinho's your DM, but with the way they
well, Jones has been playing, isn't it?
Yeah, I look at Mount. I was always saying it to people that I think, you know, he would play. I think Klopp would have loved to have him because he's the type of player Klopp loves to have. He plays the way the Liverpool midfielders play. They're workhorses, isn't it? And you know, get excellent on the press and getting the ball back as well, which Liverpool do. They get the ball back as quickly as possible and get it to Trent or Robertson to do all the creative work in it. I feel like he would be great in Liverpool's team, innit? I just feel like, yeah, Chelsea fans don't necessarily give him the respect because I think what it is as well is that Chelsea fans want him to do more when it comes to getting outputs in it. So a better final pass, a better, you know, shooting from outside the box or scoring more goals. That's the part of his game that he needs to work on. I think that's where the criticism comes of him. But otherwise, he's a great player, isn't it?
I was just going to say it's his end product. Yeah, that's the one thing about him. I know he's young. What's he? 22.
At 22,
I think he's younger. He might be
21
younger.
or 22.
Fair enough. But so it's his end product, which would kind of ironically mean he would fit in Liverpool's midfield because our midfielders don't score goals, isn't it? Like, that's the one thing. That's the only criticism I have of our midfielders. Everything else about our midfield is good. They just don't score enough goals. So he'd probably fit in. But yeah, it's his end product. When it comes to making the final pass or shooting, I've noticed that his decision making is quite bad. But as a footballer, silky wise, yeah, man, I like him. Like the other day, who are you not playing the other day? And he made a good run and he cut inside. And really and truthfully, he should have shot, but he tried to pass it across the face of the goal. And I'm like, I scream at Firmino about that every week. Like, put your foot through it. And even if you hope for the best, who knows? Like, why did you pass? So yeah, he's got to change his decision making in the final third. But yeah, he's a talent wise, I'd put Mount in the same conversation as Jones, Foden, Saka. Like, I would personally, young English talent, I'll put him in that bracket. So
he is in that bracket. He's definitely. I think what the problem is that everything's based on goals and assists, isn't it? Like, when people get at me because I said, and I'm not trying to be controversial, I just genuinely thought this. When people used to get at me because I said Gerrard was better than Lampard or Scholes was better than both, whenever I hear their arguments and those conversations, it was always about goals and assists. But when I looked at how, you know, Scholes or Gerrard affected the game, I feel like they affected the game in a better way than Lampard did. As great as Lampard was, I just feel like at the time, during those times, there was better midfielders than Lampard, innit? You know, the likes of Ballax, the likes of obviously Scholes and Gerrard, but people feel otherwise, innit? But it's all to everyone. It's all about just outputs, innit? And I feel maybe if Mason Mount adds that to his game, then yeah, Chelsea fans will respect him a bit more, innit?
I think you're right, 100%. I definitely agree. And obviously, I'm on a Chelsea channel, so I'm not going to start shading Lampard, but that's what I always said. I agree with you, and I respect you for saying that, being a Chelsea fan. I don't think Lampard was a bad player at all, but I can't say 20 goals a season makes him better than other players because your system was perfect for him. And I always make the comparison of, if you put Lampard in Liverpool's team and then you put Gerrard in Chelsea's team, I think Chelsea would have thrived with Gerrard. I don't think Lampard could have ever carried us like Gerrard did. So you just got to look at things and you've got to think about what it is. So if Mount starts getting like 15 goals a season, he'll start to become the golden boy, 100%.
Definitely. And that's the thing where goals and assists become too much of a factor. And that's why it's also, I always say football's 50% stats and 50% eye test. And to be honest, this is a perfect segue point for me as well, because I wanted to discuss this point that's been starting to come around on Twitter the last few weeks. And obviously, I don't think you're going to agree with it, but I also want to hear the reasons behind it. But people have been saying statistically, based on points from last season to points from this season, Liverpool are now statistically the worst Premier League champions of all time. And I wanted to know your thoughts on whether you agree, whether you disagree, and your points behind it. Obviously, I'm not trying to say too much, because if we could talk about the worst teams of all time, we can throw 15-16 Chelsea into it as well. So I'm not saying too much. I just want to hear your thoughts on it.
Right. First of all, every season has to be put into context. So, yes, points-wise, it's looking like that. First of all, I just want to say, I know, it's going to sound like I'm being like a baby and all Liverpool fans are babies. But a lot of these narratives only come about when it's to shoot us down. Never heard anybody say bad champions before, you know. All of a sudden now it's just like when everyone used to say, oh, you've never won the Premier League. You've never won the Premier League. And then as soon as we win it and you can't say that anymore, oh, you got to retain it now. You got to retain it. It's like you just keep moving the goalpost so you can put us down. Do you know what I mean? But when it comes to the point reduction, one thing you got to understand is we got the second highest points tally ever accumulated in Premier League history last season when we won the league, 99 points. Yeah. So any time you don't do as well the next season, the drop off is so much bigger points wise based on the points you got. That stat you read out there is inevitably going to happen. Like, I think we're down 50% on last season in terms of like the wins and the points. But by this time last season, I think we'd already won the league. I'm sure if I remember correctly, we'd already won the league by this time last year. And if you look at how well
lost by now, which was in March in itself.
Yeah. So if you look at how well City are doing now, 21 game unbeaten run they're on right now, killing it. Like, you have to just call it what it is. City are killing it right now. And they still ain't nowhere near actually won the league. We know they're going to, but they've got a good, 5, 6, 7 games minimum before they can even actually be like, right, that title is actually won. Now we can concentrate on the Champions League or whatever. So people are underestimating how well we did last season and then not putting it in context. I reckon it's about position. It's about, and again, context. In that season, you lot were really vexed with Mourinho for whatever the reasons you guys know. I don't really know the ins and outs, but you lot was
under the bus. They threw him
under the players threw him under the bus. What have you? He's an annoying guy. I know he's a legend to you lot, but he's an annoying guy. So the players just got fed up with him, innit? And they were just like, oh, forget all this. And then that was like a bit of anarchy in your team. But you finished 10th, right? In that season. Yeah. For us to be in 6th place, still close enough to get top 4, even though obviously it's not looking good. We're still in touch and only like 3 or 4 points or something, and then we're back in the top 4. I think to say we're bad champions based on the position we are now is just to banter us. And it's all good. Have your fun, innit? Like, to be honest, as Liverpool fans, we got a Premier League title now. Honestly, the banter doesn't bother us anymore. Like, we've reached the promised land, like we really have. Obviously, we don't want it to be the only Premier League we ever win. But right now, we are in the place we've always wanted to be. So people can banter us if they want. We're not bad champions. We're not. You decimate half our squad. Let me just give you this quick stat. And again, it sounds like this is all excuses, but it's not. It's just reason. Sky did this thing, right, where they worked out how many days you've had injuries based on, like, say it's 10 days for Van Dijk and then 10 days, and then they add it all up and then put a whole total of days. Liverpool have had 1,029 days this season worth of injuries. The closest person to us is Crystal Palace on 861.
Wait, but doesn't that account for every single day Van Dijk could be out, for an example?
Yeah. So I'm saying, like, so every day any player's been injured, they've tallied it all up and then they've given the total. So just to let you know,
if it's injured on a certain day, that'd be like 8 days in one day.
Yeah, so it'd be like 8 plus 10 plus 12, and they add it all up and then they give the total. So we're already pretty much 200 days higher than the second highest team. But Crystal Palace, Newcastle, Southampton, Sheffield, and Leicester and Burnley are all between us and City. City have only had 600 days worth of injuries. So they've got more than half of what we've got. And then after them, Man U's only got 490. Like, you lot will be happy to know Chelsea's only got 276 days worth of injuries for the whole season. Like,
Sounds about right.
So when you look at it just on that face, and again, reasons, not excuses, we've had over 1,000 days worth of injuries on our squad. That's why we're doing badly. You know what I mean? There's reasons for it. But if you want to call us bad champions, it's fine. I'm just glad we're champions.
What does that bad champions even mean, though? I feel like it came from Roy Keane, innit? So he knew what he was doing when he was saying that stuff, innit? You know what I mean? And it's a former Man United player as well. So, I mean, what do you expect, innit?
Yeah,
you know I mean? They're just trying to wind up Liverpool fans. It happens, innit? This is what they're going to do. They bigged up Liverpool. You know, when Liverpool are on the way to the title, they were bigging them up. They finally got there. Now it's time to kind of take them down, innit? It's the game we live in, innit? It's how it is, innit? Do you know what I mean?
How bad is it that that's society, innit? Not to get all political, but society, you get to the top and then all people want to do is drag you down, innit? Like,
that's what they do, man. It's just the media. The media, I mean, I personally don't respect the media, and it surprises me some of the things that I hear coming from such respectable former players as well, and they jump on the bandwagon. It kind of surprises me, innit?
Yeah, only because they've been in the same situation themselves as well, especially at the top level too, because they would have been former Premier League champions. They understand how hard it is to retain it as well. I understand if it's not Liverpool, it's either Leicester City or it's us, and it feels cruel even mentioning Leicester City in the same sentence, which is why I don't want to talk about it too much. But same way, it's a good way to try and get the response. That was a very good response as well. If we take things back towards Liverpool versus Chelsea now, I want to ask, how important is this sort of game towards your top four hopes? And with also the recent fixtures that you have coming up afterwards as well, because I'm getting it up now, but we checked it yesterday, and your run of games after the Chelsea game is a bit of a sticky one. You got Fulham afterwards, who aren't as easy to beat as anyone tries and gives them credit for.
Yeah, they're playing well.
Leipzig, Wolves, Arsenal, Villa, Leeds United. It's a very tough run of games for you guys. So how important is this sort of game towards your top four hopes and with confidence building to the next few games as well?
Yes, huge, man. Huge. Every game's like a cup final for us now. That cliche has never been more true. It's mad. I was sitting down chilling yesterday watching the Wolves City game, and during it I just started to work out things, and you lot probably do this as well. You drift off into Chelsea mode while you're watching other teams and you think about things or whatnot. And I was looking at the table and I was thinking, Leicester and West Ham are the two teams who we're competing with, not solely because Tottenham could put a run together and all of a sudden get involved in it, but at the moment it's West Ham and Leicester. If I was basing it on all other seasons, I would think both of those clubs will eventually fall back because they just don't quite have enough. But this is a weird year, and I don't want to rely on that, and I don't want to be disrespectful to two managers who are doing a good job. Moyes gets a lot of stick for what happened to him at Man United, but he's a decent lower level manager. People said they thought West Ham would get relegated this season. And I was like, no.
Lower level manager. I mean, come on, man. You're insane.
No, he's a decent like mid-table, isn't it? What, you don't think Moyes is a good mid-table manager?
He is.
No, I agree with
that. You said you didn't want to disrespect him, but the way you said it kind of sounded disrespectful.
All right, fair enough. My bad. All right, he's a very good mid-table manager, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? So I don't know whether they might be able to keep this like kind of funk going to actually make top four. He did it once with Everton. You know what I mean? He had a season where people didn't think it, and he actually did. He did it. He made it. He got knocked out in the qualifiers, but he still made it. So I can't let that cloud my judgment, but it's also something I keep thinking about. Now, surely Leicester and West Ham are going to drop out based on Leicester's injuries as well, because they haven't had injuries all season, but at the moment, they're really getting decimated with injuries. So
it's last season all over again. Remember, towards the end, they lost Chilwell, they lost
Pereira.
Maddison, Pereira.
Yeah,
they lost a lot of players. Obviously, Sionchu getting that red card in the last 4 games or 3 games, he got suspended. So they're starting to the injuries. I said at the time, I said at the beginning of the season, I didn't think it was going to happen again, but it's already started to happen. They just lost Harvey Barnes, didn't they?
Yeah,
Against
yeah.
Man City. So that's another one gone. So they could be dropping out very, very soon, man. Very
They
soon.
could be. They could be.
Yeah.
Which obviously is to Liverpool and Chelsea's pleasure.
Advantage,
With,
yeah. But
without
then
being.
we do have to look at Aston Villa and Everton, who have got games in hand over us.
That's true.
And
That
if
is
they
true.
win both games, if both of them win their games in hand, they could be going above Chelsea, innit?
Yeah, that is true. I think Aston Villa will go into fourth if they win two, because they got 2 games in hand, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Let me get the table up quickly. I can get that for you guys now anyway.
And Everton are in good form as well, which worries me. And they've got a very, very good manager.
Everton
Yeah.
will go top 4 if they win their game in hand. Villa will go top 4 if they win both their games in hand.
So,
yeah, table is looking tight right now.
Yeah. No,
and it's the point separating Liverpool versus Chelsea, which is half the reason why this match is so important to the both of us anyway.
Yeah, 100%. I think both clubs are really, really worried about this game in terms of what the backlash could be if they lose. If you ask both managers and you say, can you tell the truth? How do you feel about this? I think both would say, yeah, losing this game's not the one. Like, losing this game is not the one. So, yeah, man.
Because it would be Charity FC again, because you've lost your last 4 home games in a row now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You see, that should fill me with optimism. It doesn't. It really doesn't, because we've had this thing where we love ending streaks. If a team's in a bad run of games, come face Chelsea and we'll come sort it out. It's the exact same thing that happens with a top 6 side, which is why I'm also hoping this is the sort of game where we can break it. Like, there's the Tottenham game, but Tottenham, that's one of the worst Tottenham sides we've faced in years. Like, I don't even want to take that into too much consideration in terms of beating a top 6 side. It's just good to get the scalp so we can get that off the top of our head, and that's going to be a bit better for our confidence as well. The Manchester United game, right, that had 0-0 all over it, is what it is. Atletico Madrid, I'm happy with that. You got a scalp of one of the greatest teams in world football right now. But it's also not Atletico in their final form. We know they've been ravaged by the virus over the last few years. They got Vashalko out. They've got Trippier out because of the betting issue. They've had Yannick Carrasco out as well. João Felix was only just getting back into the first team. He wasn't match sharp. So right now, we've had a couple good wins, but it's also not really anything to fully stamp down as like a brilliant, dominant result against a dominant side as well. Our toughest games have been the Atletico Madrid match, the Southampton game, and the Sheffield United match. And the Southampton game was the one that we struggled in the most as well, which is why I'm looking forward to this match, but it's another one where it's just we need to make a big statement in this sort of game. And I don't think it's going to be easy for us regardless.
No, what you just said about you, when people play you, it can like end streaks. Bro, that's exactly how we are. Like, every goalie who plays us turns into prime Buffon. Like, just, you know what I mean? And right now, we're actually giving out points, like, for free. Like, I'm not even going to lie. Like, we're giving out points for free. It's almost like we broke our record of home wins. I think, like, this is mad. I don't remember the exact days it was, but Sadio Mane signed for Liverpool in 15-16.
Yeah.
He hadn't lost a home game till we lost to Burnley. He never lost a home game. That is how long we were on a winning streak at Anfield. And then it was like, we did that record, and then we went, yeah, do you know what? Since we broke that record, should we break another one? Let's lose 4 in a row and break the record of the most losses we've ever had in a row as well. Let's just start breaking all records, even if they're bad. This is what we do. We're just weird like that. You lot not beating us at Anfield for God knows how long. It just has, you're going to win this game. And I hate it. It's like, I'm trying to get it out of my mind. Man City have never beaten us at Anfield. Look what happened. They came and they beat us. It's like,
I'm thinking the exact same thing. It's like, yeah, Liverpool have lost 4 games in a row here. It'll be typical Chelsea to go there and lose. Literally, I feel this way, and it's only because it's happened too many times. Since the Arsenal game, like, I didn't believe in Charity FC until we lost to Arsenal. After the Arsenal game, I was like, yeah, okay, this bullshit's real.
Even Southampton, like, everyone was wiping the floor with them, and all of a sudden, we couldn't do nothing against them. They just got, and then they got smacked the next game. I think it was against Leeds.
You say that Southampton beat us 1-0 and then lost 6 games in a row, so I know exactly how you feel.
Then they drew to us. So
It's like, it's mad. It's mad. Liverpool and Chelsea at the moment are quite parallel in how things are going. Like I can see it, both German coaches as well. Quite ironic, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the slightly interesting part of it as well. But like, no one's really talking too much about the Klopp and Tuchel thing, and apparently Tuchel said he's barely been in contact. On the injury count, before we go into the combined 11, who do you guys have out and back for this game? Because I'm hearing rumors Alisson and Fabinho could be back for this.
Yeah, I mean, even to just touch on that, like, what kind of a mad season is it where your manager and then your goalkeeper both lose their parent within 3 weeks of each other? It's like, even that is just crazy. And I think a lot of people do have to take into consideration that our form, the coincidence of it is when Klopp's mum passed away. Our form's dip is actually from when his mum passed away. I'm not going to say that's the reason, but his mind clearly ain't in the right place.
Yeah.
He couldn't even go to the funeral. I can't even imagine what that must be like. So, Alisson with his father passing away only just last week. I don't know if we'll play him. I don't. I heard that he did train today, but he might have wanted to come in to take his mind off it. But it doesn't mean he's in the right place, though. Do you get what I mean? And
yeah, I thought it'd be really surprising if he was back for this game anyway.
Yeah, sometimes you got to save someone from themselves, and he might be saying he wants to play, but it doesn't mean he wants to play. And ironically, being that it's Chelsea, do you not remember when Lampard said there's no way he wasn't playing because he needed to take his mind off it? And then obviously he did the celebration, and it was against us when he scored the goal.
Champions League, yeah.
He had a masterclass that game as well.
Yeah, he was good in that game, and obviously it was a penalty he scored in that game, and then he did the dedication to his mum. And I remember they said like, "Bro, why are you playing? Your mum only passed away like 4 or 5 days ago, whatever." And he was like, "I had to play to take my mind off it. Sitting at home was the worst thing I could have done." So sometimes some people are like that. Maybe Ali's thinking, I just want to get back out there. Sitting at home's making me more upset. It's making me think about it. Let me just get back on the field and just... But if he makes a mistake, everyone's going to know, your head weren't right, bro. You shouldn't have even been playing. Do you get what I'm saying? So it's kind of like a catch-22, innit? But if he isn't playing, heaven help us, man. I don't even like to get on his back or to make it like a thing, because he's a human being at the end of the day. It's really horrible to kind of pile on him. But if Adrian's in goal, man, Jesus.
He had a decent game against Sheffield United, though, didn't he?
Yeah, but I mean, you lot kind of know what it feels like with Kepa, I'm guessing, because he's been bad for the last 18 months. But when you watch your goalkeeper fill the entire team with worry, and you just watch it infect everybody up the team of man, I don't know, man. If Adrian's playing, you can just shoot from anywhere and it might go in. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just one of them ones, isn't it?
There's another one where it's like, yeah, but we're Chelsea, innit? Like, that might not be a problem for Adrian still. Like, we're going to still need about 5 or 6 big chances before we actually put one in the back of the net. And
I'm hoping he takes the confidence from... Because remember, his first ever game for us, his first start for us was against you lot in the Super Cup. And he ended up being the hero. So hopefully he can take that vibe of how well he likes to play against Chelsea into this one if he's got to play. But Kabak and Phillips at the back with him in goal, man, if I was a Chelsea fan, I'd be licking my lips. I can't even front.
I'm excited, but again, it's just setting up for some BS on Thursday, which is why I'm not saying too much and I don't want to get too overconfident about it, but it's a favourable position for us. That's the very least I can say about it. And I don't want to say too much past it.
Quick question though, Drifty. Are you going to give Thiago Silva the respects now? I mean, it's not like you didn't give him before, but I did tell you that he was going to come and just be the guy in the Premier League. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I know I said at the time he's just as good as Virgil van Dijk. I still feel that way. I can't lie. I'm sorry, man. I've seen how great... I mean, we've both seen how great he's been within, since he was at AC Milan, innit? But I told people, at the time, it don't matter if he's 36, 35, 34, 38. His class is permanent. And when you got players at that age, you don't even need the pace necessarily. You just gotta have that intelligence in it. That's why the Maldinis were still able to play for as long as he is, in it. I mean, what do you think about that, man?
When I was younger and Thiago was at AC Milan,
Yeah,
unquestionably the best centre back in the world for about 2 years, in my opinion.
5 years, but yeah, go on.
Now I wouldn't go that far, but at least 2 years he was the
Mm.
best centre back in the world, hands down. Like I won't deny that. So I've always loved Thiago. Um, what it was for me was I watched the last 2 or 3 years at PSG, and he was on the decline. Obviously, age was a part of it. So there was a part of me that was naturally, it wasn't even banter. I was just thinking, surely the Premier League's going to be too quick for him if the French league started to catch up with him a little bit. I'm I'm impressed with how well he's done. I can't lie. I mean, I still think there's been some times when the lack of pace has actually shown, and there have been times he did get caught out for the lack of pace. But I guess there are loads of defenders in the league that aren't quick, so it's gonna happen to anyone, isn't it? Like Tarkovsky and people like that aren't quick, but they're still good defenders. So there's times they will get caught out for pace, but it doesn't mean they're not a good defender. I wanted Thiago Silva for free because it would have been a good addition to our squad to give us a year to go and buy whoever we wanted to get afterwards. I want Soyuncu right now. I know it's probably going to be a Maguire situation that we can't afford where they want 80 mil, but I want us to go and say, Leicester, we want Soyuncu. We're coming for him, you know what I mean? And put him next to Van Dijk. But as a stopgap, Thiago would have been great. So I'll admit he's done way better than I thought he would at his age. He has. But as a player, I've always rated Thiago, always. But you just hope as well in it. I'm not gonna lie, like we all do it. I remember when Ibrahimovic went Man U, and I was hoping being 35 was gonna mean he wasn't successful, because if he is successful, if it's one of the greatest players to ever play the game, it's gonna mean Man United wins some. Lo and behold, they won 2 cups. So you always hope in it as a bit of a, it's a hater in it. Let's just keep it honest. You're a rival, so you hate on it, and you go, well, we didn't get him, I want him to flop now. Like Timo, we didn't get him, so deep down you're like, yeah, I hope he flops. You know what I'm saying? Because obviously you lot know as well, Matt badly wanted Timo, like that was his guy. So when he went Chelsea, it's like, well, yeah, I hope he flops now because you know he's gone to a rival. So yeah, if you take the banter aside, Thiago Silva's been good, man, and he's proven he's one of the best defenders who's ever lived.
Nice. Well, final thing before we end this, we're going to go through a quick combined 11. We'll do this based on form because I feel like it's the most simplest way to get things done. First off, what formation do you guys want to go for? We're going to go for a standard 4-3-3.
It's what we play the most, so it would make sense. But a 4-2-3-1 is all right as well, so I'm easy.
4-3-3, 4-2-3-1. We'll go for that. We'll start off in goal. And wait, who are we going for, you guys, for goal then? If we're doing based on form,
it will be Alisson versus Mendy, innit? I mean,
yeah. If Alisson plays, obviously, if we're going to go on the basis of he was in training today, maybe it looks like he'll play. So, I mean, I don't even think you lot would argue Alisson's the keeper if Alisson was playing, right?
Nah, if we're just talking about who's better than who, like, Alisson is clear, innit? To me, he's probably the best keeper in the Premier League. Obviously, people say, oh yeah, Mendy's had quite a lot of clean sheets this season, innit? But I think that is partly down to the defense in front of him, because I don't think people speak enough about how good Chelsea's defense is. So it's got to be Alisson, man. Alisson's.
Well, doing
just quickly on Mendy, do you lot feel like he's even a little bit of a stopgap? I feel like Chelsea surely need to go and get a real proper goalkeeper.
Yeah.
I think it's the case of... No, I think with Mendy it's the case of, I think he has this season as a chance, but he's had a couple shaky moments in him where it's made us think, okay, he's good. He's definitely miles better than Kepa is, but is he the Chelsea caliber of goalkeeper that we want? We're not so sure. I think jury's more out on Mendy, more as we come to a final decision that we need a new goalkeeper. Yeah. But regardless of that, are we doing ability or are we doing form? Because if we're doing form, I think there's a bit more of a debate.
If we're doing form, ironically, Alisson had 2 bad games before his father passed away. So form-wise, yeah, Ali was like, it's the only 2 bad games he's ever had for Liverpool. And it just happened to be against Man City, where it's like, oh, bloody. Imagine picking that game to be the game you make a mistake. Like, What the
Worst
hell, man?
game for it.
Yeah, he had two bad games. I think it was Leicester as well, wasn't it? Shocking.
Yeah, it was Leicester and Man City back to back, and it was the first 2 bad games he's ever had, and it had to be against rivals. It had to be against rivals. It was just like, flip's sake, man. So form-wise, yeah, Ali hasn't been great recently. So
But yeah, I think we should just go for Alisson, man. There's not even a comparison, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah, cool. Well, I don't mind being out on this one. We'll go for Allison. Right back. Now, right back's an interesting one because this is Reece James versus Trent Alexander-Arnold. I've been vocal about this where I rate Trent. Like, I am not even going to sit here and start slandering the guy's name because he's a quality right back and he has been for years. I do think Reece James is just more well-rounded than him, though, which is why I would go for Reece James in this sort of argument. Like, going forward, I think Trent is still clear of Reece James, even though I think Reece James can still offer a lot going forward. It's just, I feel Reece James is better defensively, and when it comes to going forward, he's good enough that it's not that much of a detriment compared to Alexander-Arnold, which is why I would go for Reece James over him.
I get your logic. And Reece James is probably better than Trent defensively, so I agree with that. But it's a tough one because Trent is so good at what he does. Like, I don't know if you guys watched the Sheffield United game, because I'm not gonna lie, Trent's had quite a bad season. There's no beating around the bush, but he has had 2 bad injuries. He didn't get pre-season and missed the first couple of games. Then he came back. Then he got another injury. So he's had a lot of a stop-start to his season on top of that. But if you like for the Sheffield United game, for example, like just everything about his attacking play is just so good, man. Like the way he manipulates the ball, even his dribbling, which is underrated. Just like, I don't know, like I think this one's going to be one of the ones where we're always going to be, you lot are going to pick Reece because he's your guy and he's an academy player as well. Because there's a lot of comparisons even in that regard. Like they're both academy players and they're both young and whatever. They're both English and all that. So yeah, it's a tough one. And I'm going to go for Trent, but I get why you are saying Reece. You get what I'm saying?
Can I just say, yeah, I do think, going both ways. If we're talking about both ways, I think Reece is better than Trent. And I can tell by his attributes that he's going to be better in years to come. To me, he just hasn't proven it yet. He hasn't proven it yet. I can see that he's better, but I haven't seen him prove to me or to everyone else that he is better. He hasn't done enough to say he's better, even though I feel he is better. I feel like he's got to do a little bit more to say he's better than Trent. Even when you're talking about defensively, at times Reece James, obviously because he's young as well, so you expect that from a young player. There's times where he's let players cut in on him and get some nice goals, like against him. I think against Wolves, against West Ham last season. And that's the thing. I do feel like he's got to improve. So in order for us to say Reece James over Trent, he's got to prove it a little more. Do I feel like he's the better player? Yeah, but I want to see him prove it. Do you know what I mean? Not just saying it. Do you know what I'm saying?
Do you think that's more the case of the team that he's been around, though? Because Trent's been around a much better team with a much more solid system compared to Reece James, who, if we're going to say his best system that he's been around, we're going to say Lampard at the start of the season when we were playing the 4-3-3, because he was outperforming week in and week out at that point. Then he had the injury before Christmas, and then we rushed him back, and I don't think his form's been the same since.
But as much as we love him, we even his crossing is not as good as Trent's. When it comes to going forward as well, Reece James does not drive the ball enough. He loves to go back and things like that. He just hasn't done enough for me to say he's better than Trent. I'm not saying like I said, I feel Reece is better, but I want to see him actually do it. I don't just want to know your attributes. I want to see you play to your full potential and show me why you are better. And he hasn't done that yet.
Okay, so who are we going to go for then? We're going to go for Reece or are we going to go for Trent? Because I can't lie, I'm sticking on Reece on this one.
We got to go for Trent. Right now, we still got to go for... I'm sorry, man. We'll be lying to ourselves if we say, even just based on form, like you said, has Reece don't even play anymore.
Yeah.
I was going to say, has he been dropped by Tuchel? Because I haven't really seen him recently.
He has, because Callum Hudson-Odoi has been playing the right wing back role, and Reece James is not really a right wing back.
Yeah. Well,
yeah. he hasn't been able to bench Hudson-Odoi, but that's where we also say you got to play based on merit. And Hudson-Odoi's performances haven't really justified him being benched, except the Southampton game, which I'm sure we can just talk. We can ignore that one.
As I said, I'm always going to stick up for my boy in it, who I also think is a bit harsh. People say he's not good defensively. He's not actually Cole, but he's better than people give him credit for defensively.
Shit, I forgot the time. Hey, boys, I got to get out of here.
Yeah, bro, it's cool. Lawrence, I'll see you on in a few minutes anyway.
Oh, you going on Lawrence's stream as well? Hey,
I'll be there in like 20 minutes or something.
All right, man. Hey, Drifty, big up yourself as well.
Yeah, man, big up, Monster.
A lot of a calmer stream this time around. You know what I mean? No,
yeah.
Right,
big up, man.
Love that, man. You take care, bro. Bless.
All right, man.
Peace.
Right, we'll go to centre backs now. Based on form, I'm already going for him. Christensen has to start this one, and low-key probably Rudiger as well, for being honest.
I can't even sit here and argue with you, bro. It's got to be Chelsea centre back. I don't even like our centre backs. I can't even like.
Yeah,
don't get me wrong. Phillips is actually a lot better than people give him credit for. But I still wouldn't put him in over Rudiger or Christensen or Zuma. Like I can't just say it because I'm a Liverpool fan. Like I got to give that to you, innit? We'd have to go with a Chelsea centre back there.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you as well before we move on. What are your thoughts on Kabak and Phillips as a back two anyway? Because obviously there's a huge downgrade. Like I don't even need anyone to go into depth about that. But is it as bad as people make it out to be, or is it really that bad?
I think there's a bit of panic in it while we're maybe thinking it's worse than it actually is, because we're like, oh my God, we've gone from what we had to this. But I feel like Kabak has really been thrown in the deep end. He's 20 years old and he's coming to play Premier League football for the champions, where everybody is after our net. And he literally just got thrown in the deep end. And you can actually tell it's been a bit like overwhelming for him. He may become a good defender. I've seen players like LIVCHE come to the league and look crap for the first year and then prove their worth afterwards. So I'm not going to write him off totally, but at the moment, he doesn't look good enough. He doesn't. And I do worry. And obviously, they've never played together. Both of them don't have much experience. Even Phillips, I think he only played something like 28 games for Stuttgart last season. And that was his first like full season in first team football. And Stuttgart, obviously, were getting batted up a lot as well because they're not really a great team. So that's just so little experience in our back line. You know what I mean? There's very little pace. That's what worries me as well. Very little pace in our back line. So, yeah, they're not as bad as people say they are, but they're nowhere near the level we've been used to. Do you know what I mean?
All right, cool. So we'll go Rudiger, Christensen as the back two. Left back, that would be Andy Robertson versus Marcos Alonso. Oh my gosh. Yeah, okay, yeah. So should we move on? Because I can't be asked for.
I think that was an easy one.
Yeah, Robertson's form hasn't been bad the last few games anyway, though, has it?
No. He did drop off a little while in January, but his level was so high. Even him getting the 7 out of 10 is a drop off because we're used to 9 and 10 every game. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, all right. Yeah, you can have the left back position anyway. It is what it is. We'll move into midfield, and midfield's a much more interesting one because you've been saying you've had problems with the output of the midfield the last few games as well, right?
Yeah. Our midfield is but remember, our midfield's the engine. That's the thing. It's not really built to score goals. It was built to run the team. It's just because the fullbacks and the defense can't push up now. The attack can't get the support from the fullbacks that they usually get, which has just affected us all round. So now there's a lot more focus on why midfield don't score goals now. Do you get what I mean?
All right, so who would you want to see in the midfield from a Liverpool perspective? Because right now I'm thinking I could make an argument for Kovacic, Jorginho, potentially Mason Mount as well. But I want to see who you'd want to throw in there too.
So if we're playing a 4-3-3, the thing is, I rate Kante so highly, but he hasn't really been on form, has he?
Not even on form. It's just he hasn't been able to bench Kovacic and Jorginho because their understanding in a two-man midfield is just levels clear of Kante plus anybody else. It looks a lot more broken apart and it becomes a lot more individualistic with a pair of them. But I don't mean Kante's bad. Like, he breaks up play excellently, just like Kante in his prime. But the difference is we retain possession a lot better with Kovacic and Jorginho. Yeah, they say it's too much passes and it's sideways football and nothing and everything like that. Cool. I don't care too much. We aren't giving the ball away nearly as much as we do when it has N'Golo Kante. And plus, we're much more progressive when we have Kovacic and Jorginho together as well. Kante can break up play, but he still turns over the ball a bit too much for my liking. That's why it's like, I can't criticize him too much because he wins the ball back a lot, but then he gives the ball away a lot too as well.
Yeah, see, this is a tough one because I think our midfield is better than yours, but the players who were fit aren't better than yours, if that makes sense. So if we had Thiago Henderson and Fabinho all fit, I'd just be like, yeah, it's a clean sweep without being disrespectful to Chelsea's team. With the injuries we've got, I'm like, I don't like Thiago playing in the 6. So I want Thiago to play in an 8. But we don't have another 6. But if you're saying that Kante's not on form, is Jorginho a good number 6? I don't know.
Like, we could say Kante's in form as well because he pocketed Bruno in the last match.
I'll go with Kante
in there as well. Like, I ain't got no reason not to throw him in there.
I'd put Kante in the number 6, definitely. Yeah.
That works for me. And then who are we going for the 2 attacking 8s then? Because it has to be at least one Chelsea player. And if it's one Chelsea player out of the 3, it's probably Kovacic. Out of the 3 has to be
You say that, and obviously I'm going to sound like I'm being biased, but I think Wijnaldum has to be in that team. He's been so good for us this season, and he's so criminally underrated.
He's another one that gets a lot of stick from Liverpool fans too as well.
Yeah, the ones who don't really get it, bro. They're the ones that don't get it, I'm telling you.
Then, isn't it?
Yeah, Wijnaldum is such a good player. Like, I don't get why anybody criticizes him. I really don't.
What I've heard is the same thing we always say in his output. Like, not enough goals, not enough
assists. and it's like, but that's not his job. That's not his job, man. That's like, come on, man. That's not his job. Even captained the side against Sheffield United and was my man of the match with Jones. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, I love Genie. I think this is the thing, especially if it just being us two, we're not going to be able to not separate the love for our own team. That's going to be the problem. Because like you say,
I like tribalism as well. Like, that's cool. I'm all here for it.
Kovacic has been good this season. I'm not going to act like he hasn't. I do think he's a good player, but I would definitely play Wijnaldum over Kovacic. But that's just me personally.
Okay. Oh, so what? We're going to go Kovacic and Wijnaldum then with Kante in the deep role.
If we're basing it on form, yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously, Thiago's a better player than Kovacic, but Thiago hasn't been playing that well this season. So if I'm going to be as unbiased as I can, then Kovacic
that's why I took
form-wise,
ability out of it, because if it's ability, we can throw Virgil van Dijk into this again.
That's
why we've got to do ability, even though it puts you in a bit of a worse light with the injuries and everything, which I understand, but it's
I'll give you Kovacic based on the fact that Thiago hasn't been playing as well as he should be. But obviously, if it's about form, then I'll give you Kovacic. Yeah.
All right, cool. Let's go to the front 3 now, and I think up front, Olivier Giroud has to take it, just initially based on. I think Firmino off for the last few months, if I'm correct.
I know Firmino is a great player, but if we're talking about strikers, I can't even argue. I can't.
It's too hard with us as well because we still just aren't clinical in general. But I'd have to go Olivier Giroud up front because he's probably the best out of a bad bunch right now, even though he struggles to really complete a full 90 most of the time.
He's an underrated striker, I think.
Definitely underrated. I've said he's the most underrated striker of the last decade, in my opinion. But that's just because of how consistently he gets underrated. But that's why I rate him so much as well, because he gets the best out of the players around him. Like Eden Hazard was at his best when he had Olivier Giroud next to him. Christian Pulisic balled out when he had Olivier Giroud next to him for most of the games as well. Same thing with a Willian or a Pedro. It's always Olivier Giroud who will get them into those positions of space and find them with an inch perfect pass. So I'd have to go for Olivier Giroud up front. In the wings, though, I feel like the only player I'd seriously push for is Hudson-Odoi right now. The rest of them, I think I could make an argument, but it wouldn't be a strong argument. But who would you try and take if you're going for anyone on the wings right now?
Well, Salah's a dead give. He's top goal scorer, and even though he's not playing anywhere near up to the level that he can do, he's still top goal scorer, and he's been scoring all our goals. So we've obviously got to go Salah right wing. Left wing, I can't really make excuses for Mane from an attacking sense. He has been poor this season. Um,
Yeah, his numbers have been worse than Werner's this season, apparently.
I don't know. I think Mane's got 7 goals and 4 assists, which at this stage of the season is way down.
Ryan, I swear down, man. I can't be arsed.
No, there's no Chelsea fan that could say that Salah.
No, Ryan's a Liverpool fan. I know him from Flawless's channel.
Oh.
He's got a genuine hate for Salah.
Raw. Ah, okay. Yeah, the thing is, I just realized I forgot about Jones in the midfield, and Jones has been playing so good this season. But we can play Jones wide. So would you say Hudson-Odoi's had a better season than Jones as a wide player?
I think Hudson-Odoi has been brilliant this season. If anything, the only reason why he has been noticed so much is because Frank Lampard just refused to play the kid for basically a few months. Like the last 4-5 league games under Frank Lampard, I think Callum Hudson-Odoi started one of those, but he was involved in 3 of the 4 goals that we scored, despite playing the least minutes out of all of our forwards. And then Tuchel comes in, puts him straight into the lineup, even at right wing back, a position that he barely plays in, and he's aced it most of the games. Like the only downward is the Southampton game, where he came on, he got subbed off after 20 minutes. That just seemed motivational from Tuchel. With his performance against Atletico as well in mind after that, it worked because he was excellent in that game as well. He had Thomas Lemar on ropes for the entire 90 minutes. So I think Hudson-Odoi, like in the wings, he's the only one that I'm pushing for, and I say he has to be in this team.
Can Hudson-Odoi play left wing?
Yeah, in fact, he started as a left wing. The only reason why we didn't play him there was because, first off, he had to compete with Hazard, then he had to compete with Pulisic, and he just wasn't benching either of them. So he had to play him to the right when there was
if he can play left, then I'll go Hudson-Odoi and Salah then.
Yeah, Loki, I think Hudson-Odoi is better on the left because he's right-footed. He's brilliant at getting the ball into the box. It's, you know, when you're right-footed and you try and bring the ball in and cut inside on your left, you can still do it, but you're never going to be as confident as when you do it on your right-hand side.
Yeah,
definitely more natural and everything. Yeah, that's exactly why he's been great now, and I'm low-key excited as well because we haven't unlocked his final form yet. Once we have him on the left-hand side, that's when you're going to see the best of Hudson-Odoi. But if we're going to go through the combined 11 one more time, so that's Alisson in goal. Did we go? We ended up with Trent, didn't we, for the right back?
Yeah. Trent and Robbo was fullbacks with Christensen and Rudiger at centre back.
Yeah, and then it was Kante, Wijnaldum, Mount, Giroud, Salah, and Hudson.
No, you went with Kovacic, didn't you?
Yeah, it was Kovacic. Yeah, sorry, I saw bare people in the comment section saying it should have been Mount. It twisted my mind. But yeah, Mateo Kovacic in midfield as well. My camera's gone fucked. Fuck's sakes. But yes, with that in mind, final question before we wrap this one up. Score prediction. What's your thoughts, bro?
Bro, I don't... I don't do score predictions because I'm a superstitious guy, but I'm worried. I'll put it like that. I'm worried.
Okay, no score predictions. How confident are you of a win? How about that?
30%.
30%. I'll take that, but with Charity FC still reigning strong, I'm going to take that with Drifty, anyway, thank you for hopping on. Big up to everyone who's been locked in as well. This has been yet another amazing live stream. Check out Coppish as well. We're going to be live there 9 p.m. for the Chelsea preview on their channel as well. Please check it out. Smash the like and subscribe button there as well. Check out Monstar's channel. The link's in the title. Check out Lawrence's channel as well, where him and Monster are live, and I'm going to be there in about 10-15 minutes as well. So check them out too. And as always, like the video, subscribe if you guys haven't done so already. Check out the bell notification button as well. Check out Team Coppish at 9 p.m. as well. And yeah, we'll see you guys on Thursday. Let's know your score predictions down in the comment section and up the